Hi there. I'm Eric Lungard. I'm with MSE Environmental, and I'm really excited to share with you one of our reports. We've been doing fire combustion sampling that involves soot, char, and ash sampling for many years. And whether it's, in California, Texas, Nevada, or different markets, whether it's insurance related or non-insurance related, we've been doing fire combustion sampling for a long time. And we have vendor partners actually that allow us to gather data after we sample for these combustion products and prove scientifically that there is soot, char, and ash on horizontal and vertical surfaces within your home. So I'm going to go over a quick little overview of a report so you have an idea. And a lot of times too, customers ask us, what does a report look like and what's involved? So let me go through the process here. This is just our cover page, limited fire combustion product sampling. This is one of our Las Vegas locations. We have a lot of different locations. Typically, we'll have a customer address, inspection date, time, the consultant. This is one of my consultants, Larry. And so we'll say fire combustion products or combustion byproducts result soot, char, ash. We have the table of contents, which goes in a lot of different services, project site description, scope of services, and initial assessment, observations, methods, result and discussion, conclusions, recommendations. So when we're taking you through this, we want to tell you a little bit about the project site. We want to show you the scope of services. What are the initial assessments and observations in your property that we're going through? And we'll go through in detail the methods we're using, then explain the results and discussions, and then the conclusion, what our recommendations are, the signature to show that we've done this. And then we take it a step further and we do what's called remediation scope of work. And then we have remediation scope of work sequencing guidelines, the scope of work general guidelines, and then we have the affected areas much more in detail. Then we have post-remediation verification clearance testing, which basically means after we actually validate the cleaning, we have some limitations, and we have the laboratory reports and chain of custody forms. So this is just a pre-inspection agreement saying this is what we're doing, this is agreeing with our customer. We a lot of times too have just more information here, address, customer, what's the inspection service, which way does the structure face. And then we kind of get over, and then on the front page here, we usually have a photo of your property here and some other additional details that I extrapolated here. And this is one of the inspections we recently did. I didn't want to include any of the photos for the property, but basically it says the property is built in 1953. The homeowner requested a fire combustion sampling investigation from a wildfire that caused soot, char, and ash. The following areas have been documented, photo documented. So we document the interior, the exterior. We take a bunch of photos in your property. Some of these ones were clean, some were blurry, but we took a bunch of photos in your property and include that in here and show the areas of your property that might have been affected by soot, char, and ash. This specifically was in Pacific Palisades, where a home, in this situation, I think the homeowner might have wiped some of the home down. So typically when you have a wildfire and the soot, char, and ash or fire combustion products get forced into your property, you really don't want to clean the property. You want to leave it settled the way it is, especially if you're going to do an insurance claim. The reason you do that is because you want to find all the different contaminants that may be on the surfaces, and if you're going to put an insurance claim in, you really have to point out, you have to provide the information as far as validation, documentation, scientifically, that any fire combustion products exist in the property. And there's a lot of different methods of doing that. So we actually just take a bunch of photos here to show property, the current state from the interior, the exterior. I'm just going to go through some of the photos here. You can see here there's soot on the outside, there's char inside the pool. Looks like it might have been cleaned a little bit. So this house has actually had some pre-cleaning done. We have some houses that have just been not completely done, and it's full of soot, char, and ash on every surface. Here we got some soot, char, and ash on the outside here. We show you an aerial photo of your house, especially if it had any burning around this area. We tell you the fire source in this situation. This is specifically to Pacific Palisades, so we try to give you an overview of the location, an aerial map, and also some sources and background knowledge. And then we pretty much label down the scope of work. The purpose of the combustion byproduct investigation is detect, detect and identify the presence of carbon black, char, soot, ash in the property, on different horizontal and vertical surfaces between attics, crawl spaces, voids. So, and this really determines, a lot of clients will be like, hey, I want you to actually sample the interior of my house, maybe the attic, maybe this. So it depends on what you really want to do and accomplish. Typically, this investigation, we're sampling all different horizontal and vertical surfaces in the house and externally of the house, the garage, the attic, because this client actually specifically wanted us to determine all the fire combustion byproducts and prove that they exist on horizontal and vertical surfaces. So that's the main thing that you want to do. You want to prove that they exist so they can be clean and brought back to a pre-lost state. So within a lot of times too, we'll put the location of samples here. We tell you the scope of work, the location of samples here. We tell you all the locations here. We usually take a tape lift sample. Sometimes you can do wipe. We prefer tape because this is a method our lab uses, and there's a lot of research done. The optical method is a lot more important. And since this house has been cleaned, we still took soot, char, and ash, and a lot of times the tape samples were pretty much not clean, but they didn't have as much black soot, char, and ash, but there's still a lot of grayish soot, char, and ash in different surfaces. So if you look here, it shows you bar top, fireplace. Our strategy is to do random sampling throughout first and second floor, attic, crawl space, and anywhere that you feel that fire combustion products may be, to be able to prove scientifically, once we've actually pulled the sample results, that there was fire combustion products components on those vertical surfaces. So we've taken them on floors, cabinets, window seals, and we take a photo of every location, so it's very important. You can see here's a little bit of fire combustion byproducts here, very dusty. That didn't get, here's a little bit more here. And then we do have initial assessment. So our preliminary assessment was to initially do a cursory inspection for inside the home, looking for any type of smoke particles that might have been blown in or pressurized due to the winds. We actually smell, we also describe if there's a smell or a strong odor within our report. We tell you the tape lift methodologies, who we're using, what lab we're using. There's a lot of different labs, and this is specifically, we use a company called EAA because there's a very well-known scientist, and their laboratory is very accredited in the industry. After MSE performs our initial assessments, we focus on determining the presence or absence of fire combustion products, and by random sampling horizontal vertical surfaces. These random areas range from structural components, attics, crawl spaces, contents, pretty much the same thing I just said. And it's important to point out that MSE only takes samples from surfaces that represent the potential for fire combustion product. Let me repeat. Potential for fire combustion byproducts particulate has not been disturbed, altered, and manipulated or cleaned or wiped. So that is our main goal. This specific house actually was done, and I think it's just because some people were like, I want to get my house back to normal. And later on they decide to, maybe I need to have a restoration company come in here and clean more. I didn't do a good enough job, so I need to clean more. So in this specific situation, we went and sampled. So our goals are prove fire combustion products are present or absent using a proven scientific method that is the standard for the industry, and that is through tape lifting methodologies. The analysis of wildfire and structure fire residues is reliably performed using a combination of direct tape lift sampling and specific light microscopic methods. So the source was Dan Baxter. Here we actually label it every single one. We give the locations, we tell you the sample type, and we basically tell you the soot, char, and ash, whether it was typical upper, elevated, or a typical lower. We use this table. Once we get the lab data from EAA, we use the table that they provided, which is basically scientifically analyzed with a method. And the methods based off of this, and I don't want to get into all the methods, but the method they use is a proven method that is highly acceptable within the industry. So all these areas, and you can see, so soot, char, ash. Soot basically shows you here, and there's like a little guideline here, and let me show you on this other page here. So typical means normal background, typical upper means upper background range, atypical concentrations mean 3 to 10 times, and elevated. So you can kind of see this is like a little table, and it shows you our legend. and it tells you different ratios. So any one thing in red and orange are pretty much elevated or atypical, and below is typical upper and typical lower. So we like using this so that our clients can see that, and the insurance adjusters or whoever they're providing this to, whether it's restoration contractors, that they can pretty much conclude it's very easy to see. And based off our limited fire combustion sampling products investigation, our initial assessment of the fire combustion component sampling results in a professional interpretation and science-based findings that the fire combustion products, or CBP, entered a home from pressurized strong winds and atmospheric conditions due to recent fires in Santa Monica. Then we describe a little about the interior, the exterior. We tell a little bit about our anecdotal findings based off how many had soot, char, and ash, where it came from. Then we basically give a bunch of definitions, because a lot of clients really don't understand why, where wildfire comes from, you know, a mixture of this, like health effects, and we kind of give you particle ranges. We use a particle counter at different times, but this situation, but PM 2.5 is another one, and how you can describe that, and then basically give you definitions of different types of soot, char, you know, within our report. This one is soot, vegetation ash, structure fire ash, char. As we go through that, and then let's see here, we kind of give you an overview. Well, we definitely give you an example structures of fire particles, and then the other one is wildfire vegetation and particles here, and it kind of shows you based off of Dan Baxter's information that we provide. Then we kind of give you some morphology of the fire residue, tell you what soot, char, and ash is using this simple little bar graph, and soot basically is a fine carbonaceous material with aciniform structure that is produced during incomplete combustion. Char comprises mostly of carbonaceous, man, that's a tongue twister, large, irregular fragments of burned material. Ash is decarbonized, mostly inorganic residue of cellulose material. And so that way we can actually explain that to our client. Health effects, a little bit more about health effects, lung health, a little bit about the area here, and then our recommendations. A lot of times too, if the house has been full, if it's been physically burned, it's different than actually if it's been physically burned, you're going to have a lot more soot, okay? And you're going to still have some char and ash, but typically in this situation, this is wildfire, so it's all been blown in, pressurized by a surrounding fire that engulfed the entire neighborhood. So at times, then after this, we basically create a limited remediation scope of work. We basically show you the areas. We give you visible soot, char, ash. We show you that. We put our consultant signature. Then we break down the scope of work. Basically some limited guidelines of what we need to do. Remove soot, char, and ash. We tell you how to remove it. And you can give this to a restoration contractor. I don't always recommend you do it yourself. So then we basically spell out some sequencing guidelines between communication, personnel, PPE, personal hygiene, containment areas, exposure control, encapsulants, containment removal, clearance testing, and then once we do that, we get in some other general guidelines that we through using what's called the IICRC S700 Standard Professional Fire and Remediation Damage Restoration, which is a little bit more involved. So I extrapolate this out for restoration contractors because it explains it, and then I usually get more in detailed here with the purpose and a little bit more involved using the other different guidelines here. There's IICRC S700, the OSHA 29 CFR standard for respiratory protection, and then you have EPA guidelines, and you have some other general fire explosion guidelines. So this is actually, this is all encompassing because sometimes you'll have things that explode, sometimes you have burn to the ground. So we use this type of report for different methodologies. And then scrolling down, it tells you how to clean different materials. And then this is the book we pull it from. Then we get into specific affected areas, and those affected areas, we give it detailed guidelines, like say the first floor, use the entire area residence as a containment, remove carpeting, dispose, remove soft products, hard products, clean, hard porous surfaces. Some they're going to be non-cleanable, cleanable. Some hard products are going to be cleanable, and then there's a bunch of high-value things. So we pretty much point that out within our report. And then we try to show all the areas that might have soot, char, and ash, so it's a little bit easier for the cleaning crew to clean that up. And then we actually spell that on the other area, the second floor. Again, we're showing the areas here. All different types of structural components, contents, clothing. We even spell out the attic here. And then we get in the attic and we'll show you two different areas that we recommend the cleaning guidelines for that as well. Getting on here, the garage, the HVAC unit. So we then tell you clean the garage, clean the floor, clean up the dust and debris, exterior. A lot of times when you have a wildfire, you want to clean it from the roof down. So you want to spray all the fire combustion components like soot, char, and ash off the roof so it gets washed off, down off of the side of the house, power wash the side down, power wash everything around the house as well. Make sure it's all clean before you start going inside. In this situation, there's a huge fire that happens in Pacific Palisades and all these neighboring areas. So your neighbor is going to have a fire in their neighborhood too, or in their surrounding areas if your house burned, or if it was engulfed in the whole neighborhood with a ton of particulates in the air. So what you're doing is focusing on your specific home, cleaning that down, cleaning the sides, cleaning all the areas, cleaning the outside first, and then moving in and cleaning that with the guidelines that I've showed here through the exterior. So we tell you exterior washing surfaces, power wash all the exteriors, gutters, roofs, fences, landscaping, all metal surfaces, and we do a final clearance. And we kind of spell that out with just some arrows here and show it very easy to see, not overly complicated. And then we have some clearance guidelines here that we recommend at the very end. And then we basically spelled some limitations. And then here are the laboratory chain of custodies at the very end. I'm not going to show this at the laboratory, but this is where we spell out specifically what you saw earlier. If it's fire combustion byproducts, soot, char, and ash, we use a lab there. If you need to have metals, we'll have metals done over here. We'll have asbestos survey done over there, specifically for microvac, not really the survey itself for building materials. So it depends on what you need done, but this specific report is for fire combustion byproduct sampling with an emphasis on soot, char, and ash. So hopefully it helps you understand how we do it and how we're constantly successful helping clients in any situation for fire combustion sampling with our methodology, with our reports. And normally, and right now within the Palisades, we're getting our results back in 5 days. And we're actually doing the report in 4. We can probably do it a lot faster, but since there's so many fires around, that's actually very fast. So if you need that help, we're here to help you guys. If you have any questions as a homeowner, go to our website, msenational.com. My name's Eric. We'd love to be able to help you answer any questions you have. And I hope I hope that you guys get back to your normal state of health and wellness in your house. Okay?